I met Dave Marsh. I'm pretty sure I met Dave Marsh in the late 90s with an ex boyfriend of mine who was also a musician. And right off the bat, he invited us when we were passing through New York, he invited us to um, come with him to see Springsteen play one of his many nights that summer. He was playing at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and we sort of took a ride with him from Manhattan over to New Jersey, and he very generously, Springsteen very generously allowed us to sit in on the sound check, and then we saw the show, which was 3 hours long, and of course not long enough, and then and it was just thrilling, and I believe that I sat next to Dave that night, and I believe that in the concert he cried at some point. So I mean, one of the striking things about him right off the bat was the emotional involvement with music, and which seemed exactly right to me for someone who's spent his life, writing about it and telling people about it. It's like you, you I, I think that sometimes writing about music can be very tricky business because people drift off into aficionado land, and they develop tastes and actual snobbery around things, and I don't get that vibe from Dave ever. I never have. And it's, and it also, having been lucky enough to be interviewed by him maybe once or twice, it allows you to drop your guard a little bit and really talk about music from the place that is a little more honest. When it's hard for musicians to talk about music and making music, and I think just sitting across from a fan and also being a fan, you get to it gets you excited about it, and so it's fun to sit down and have a conversation with him about music. So I imagine that is part of the success he's had as a music writer, is that he's such a fan, and musicians are too. So it's fun to talk to him. Another thing that I bonded with him over was his love of James Baldwin. James Baldwin to me was the writer that turned the light bulb on for writing for me. I've been writing songs and writing songs, and I read The Fire Next Time sometime in my late 20s, and discovered this way to think about what to write, and what, where you would have to go inside yourself to sort of get to that, and Dave is is knows a lot about James Baldwin. He actually gave me James Baldwin's children's book as a gift years ago, and like a copy from back in the day when they were. I think they've reprinted them, but they were hard to get back then, and I still, treasure it. And let me see, what else do I love about Dave? I guess, one of the things that I would say about Dave, that I've gotten to talk to three writers who sort of come from his era of people who write about music. And it's thrilling because they have encyclopedic knowledge of so much music that I'm interested in, and I've learned things that I didn't know from all of these people. And I grew up in Maine. I grew up in kind of rural Maine, definitely small town Maine. And, access to, I had a very strong hunger for new music, in my teen years, I would say. And the access to it was pretty limited there. It was based on the tastes of the local DJs, which was pretty good, and there was a lot to choose from, but your mind wants more. So I used to, catch a bus to the mall and go through the Rolling Stone magazine, and try to find, read it and not get thrown out for not buying it, and and discover new music through the writers there. And I'm certain that I discovered music through Dave's writing there. So to actually get to meet Dave and have a conversation with him even once about music would be thrilling. But I've gotten to see him and hang out with him more than once, and he's invested in it. His heart is in it, and it's just feel really lucky that I got to do that. Is that good?